Hey guys, today we're going to be adding a second battery. We're working on the 350Z again, and I decided to add a second battery to help the charging system because I'm adding a mild sound system in it. We're going to be doing an HD amplifier, which is going to be a 5-channel, and it's going to draw pretty hard, and we want to make sure that we have really good bass performance because that's when an amplifier really draws the hardest, is with those big bass notes. Today I'm going to be installing the Relocate Battery, and it's one of their smallest lineups. This is their 20 amp hours model. It's pretty much the same size as a battery that you see in like a Rhino side-by-side, for example, or any ATV side-by-side. A little bit taller than a motorcycle battery, but I chose this one because I don't need a huge battery in the back, but I also wanted something that's very serviceable and easy to install. There are several ways of installing a second battery. I'm going to show you the simplest way, where the battery is going to be connected to this main battery at all times, but we're going to take every safety precaution to make sure, in case something does go wrong, that there will be fusible links in certain areas of the vehicle. The theory covered in today's video will also cover if you want to relocate the battery to the rear of the vehicle for better traction if you have a rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicle. Let's start in the front because this is where you're going to be connecting the battery in the back to your alternator. I've taken off the cover on the positive side so you can see better what's going on. The nice thing about the 350Z are there are these junction points up here, so I didn't have to make anything or finick with the bolt over here to actually make my attachment. Here it's on a fusible link and it just looks better and it's a more serviceable area. So what we have here is we have a circuit amp breaker here. Now we could do a fuse holder, but with the circuit breaker, if something does go wrong, it's very easy to reset and it does look really good under the hood. Now if you were to relocate the battery, you would have to get some sort of adapter where you'd probably mount the adapter on the firewall somewhere and then you could still hook up the post. I wouldn't want to get rid of all these fusible links because it was designed to work that way, and this was what makes the whole car safe. So you don't want to delete this. You just want to use an adapter and maintain all this. And then you can move the battery to the back. We're going to discuss what kind of batteries you can have in the back, because if it's a traditional battery that's not sealed, then you don't want to put that in the cab of the vehicle. So you hook up to your battery within preferably 15 to 13 inches, and then you're going to run the wire through the firewall, through a factory grommet preferably. I should also mention there are a variety of ways of hooking up that second battery, not just this way. I just wanted this for simplicity. What you could also do is you could have this circuit breaker in line with a relay, like a heavy-duty relay. An example that would be a Ford solenoid, and that way you could actually isolate the battery from the front battery whenever you want. Now you can either turn it on with ignition, that way it'd be automatic and you don't have to think about it, or you can put on a switch as well. So there are a variety of ways of hooking up the battery in the back. Once you're inside the vehicle, you want to run the wiring with as much of the factory stuff as you can, that way it's out of the way. I'm lucky in this vehicle because it has a bunch of holders in place so I can run my wiring. Also, when you're passing through any kind of metal, try to add some sort of barrier so it doesn't want to chafe, or a grommet. Now this hole's really big, so I couldn't use a standard grommet, so I just took some split loom and put it all along the edge. The metal's not sharp to begin with, but I just wanted to make sure. I ran all along the edge, so that way it can't chafe over time. Okay, now we're on the driver's side of the vehicle. This is where usually the factory sub would be. This is an enthusiast, so it doesn't have a factory sub, so there's lots of room. The sub doesn't really go that deep anyways, but we don't have to deal with anything. There's just a cover. This is going to make this setup very, very serviceable if I ever have to change this battery. So what I've done here is we have a battery holder from Schreiken. This is designed for the battery. It's very tight, and then I just use self-tapper screws. Most of the weight is laying down on a piece of metal here, and all the screws do is hold it up in place. So I don't want to rely purely on the screws because it can cantilever down, but the sheet metal back there is fairly strong, and you can see that it's like pushed, it's like dimple dyed in, so that does give it a bit of strength. Over here on that side, I put a piece of MDF. I just round over the edges, and I sprayed in truck bed liner to look, just more finished. And the reason why I put that piece of wood in it was I originally had the fuse holder there by itself, but then I didn't like how it looked because I'd have to run another fuse holder for my amplifier. And my choice was either run the second fuse holder here, or I can have them lined up together. That way it's just more uniform, and it gives you more options for mounting. The ground is bolted with a proper bolt for grounding. Actually, I will post a video of that in the cards. And then I P-clipped all the wiring up here, so if you ever had to do a battery swap, you just disconnect all the wires. They're not gonna touch anything. You just unbolt it and they'll just hang right there. Whenever you're putting a battery in the cab of a vehicle, you want to talk to a battery specialist or an authorized parts dealer that sells batteries to get the proper type of battery in the vehicle, because not all of them are built the same. So the Striken battery is an AGM battery and it's sealed, and the nice thing about it is it's designed to be a high performance battery. When it comes to high performance batteries, mainly it can withstand a lot of vibration, it can be discharged, and you can recharge it. It's not going to really hurt it, and it can charge very rapidly. It has very low resistance inside of it. So there are a bunch of manufacturers. Optima's still decent. There's North Star batteries, Shuriken, Stinger makes a bunch, Odyssey, there's a bunch of manufacturers out there. I'll try to list a bunch in the description below so you guys have options, because every dealer doesn't carry every brand. Okay, so I have the battery in and all hooked up. Not much different than before. All the wiring exactly the same, and this is what I wanted to have the end result. That way, like I said, I can change this battery very easily just by pulling this cover off. The interesting thing about the Shuriken battery holder, which is specific to this battery, because I had a very hard time trying to find anything else that would work with these dimensions, are it has a spot for you to strap it in. They don't give you the strap, so you're gonna have to come up with your own little version. So I just went down to the hardware store, got this Velcro strap. The only reason why I really need this is because when the car turns aggressively right, well, the battery is going to want to come out. We don't have to worry about braking or accelerating or turning left. It's just one direction. So you want to have something that's still relatively strong, but you don't have to go crazy, because it's not going to be really pushing that much weight out of here. We're not building a track car, but we do spirited driving, so we want to make sure that battery is not going to come out. So to recap, we have a fuse holder back here. That way, in case the line, if it were to pinch back here, we are disconnected from the battery in the back. And obviously the circuit breaker in the front's going to go as well. So basically this line becomes a dead line in the vehicle. If you only had the circuit breaker in the front, if something were to pinch back here for whatever reason, accident, whatever, this is still connected. So it is technically a fire hazard. So you have to have fusible links at each battery. And when we add an amplifier, we're going to attach it over here. We're going to add another fuse. So we have to make sure every single device is fused properly. So here now you guys see what it would look like if I were to service the battery. I can still get my hand in there easily because the subwoofer isn't there. You can pull it out. And then this goes over to cover everything. So yeah, if you want better performance from your sound system, add a second battery. Or if you just want a better weight distribution, put the battery in the back.